Hello, everybody. This is the Retirement Playbook brought to you by Alspaugh Wealth Management. I am your host, Brock Alspaugh. We're here with you every week, bringing you some great ideas to help you in your retirement, to get to and through your own desired retirement. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Tony Shore. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Brock Alspaugh.
What?
How are you?
Great, man. I'm full of energy right now. I love it. Yes.
Great to be here
Lots
with
of
you,
good
Brock.
energy.
I'm fired up about the show today. We were talking about it beforehand, and I think you've got a great topic for us. We're both coming off a great 3-day weekend.
Woo.
I had fun with my family. What did you do, Brock?
Same thing. Family thing, right? We my brother and my sister's kids, all that kind of stuff came down. We did the pool thing, played a little bit of golf, 9 holes, but it was a great weekend of relaxing and cooking. Okay, so here's the thing, Tony. So Friday was my deadline to meet my weight goal. Okay, I've been the last couple months losing weight. So I had a contest with my soon-to-be freshman here, and I said, listen, you're trying to gain weight for football. I'm trying to lose weight, right? Because that's just what adults try to do.
Yep.
And so I said, here's the deal. If you don't weigh 160 by the Friday of Labor Day weekend, you owe me 100 push-ups. And if I don't weigh 205, then I'm going to have to do 100 push-ups as well. And so he said, okay, you're on, Dad. So 2 months go by.
No money is going to exchange hands.
No money.
Okay.
It's just push-ups.
Remember, kids, no wagering.
And I said, all right, here comes the day, dude. You better be ready, because he's not, I knew where he was, and he knew where he was. And I said, you got to eat a lot in the next 3 days. Bottom line is, he didn't make it, okay? And guess who made it? This guy. That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was actually at 199.6.
You made it under 200 pounds.
For the first time since 5th grade. But anyway.
Wow. And you didn't have to cut off a limb or do anything like that to get there?
I just starved myself, and dehydration is the key. No, I'm just kidding.
I hope you didn't have to starve yourself.
I didn't. But what's funny is, well, it's not really funny. It's kind of stupid. But anyway, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I weighed myself, and I knew it was going to be bad. And I gained 4.5 pounds back in 3 or 4 days, I guess it was. But
that's what happens over a 3-day holiday weekend, though, right?
Oh, man, pizza and beef ribs and pulled pork and fried wild turkey. So I killed my first turkey this year, Tony. And so we fried it up, and it was delicious, by the way. If you've never had wild turkey, it is fantastic. It tastes just like the stuff in the store. Actually, it's better because it's more fresh.
Better.
But anyway. So enough of all of that. We all had great weekends. I hope everyone listening and watching this did. By the way, if you haven't checked out our YouTube page, please do, folks. It's go to the YouTube and type in Alspaugh Wealth Management. You'll see us there. Me and Tony see us pictures of previous videos. And like our page and subscribe to our page and like these videos for us. That really helps us out. So appreciate you guys doing that. Also, go to our website. Okay, it's alspaugwealthmanagement.com. You can check out past shows there as well. You can also find lots of great information and how to get started in your life. But ultimately, folks, if you are ready to take the next step and really get a true customized plan, give us a call here at Alspaugh Wealth Management, 573-332-7855. Or again, you can request an appointment with me through our website at alspaugwealthmanagement.com. All right, Tony, you ready?
I am so ready.
We're 4 minutes into this thing. We haven't talked anything about retirement planning. That's okay, though. Because listen, Tony, I'm going to start with this. I like to make analogies, and we're sports oriented, hence the name, the playbook, right? That's the name of the show, the Retirement Playbook. When you are, for example, I'm a big golfer. I love to play golf. Mm-hmm. If you are struggling with your golf game and you get a lesson, okay, and he most often, or she, will give you steps that you have to take in order to get where you want to be, okay?
Right.
So, let's start here with the body movement. And then we move into some of the, where your hand should be, those kinds of things. But oftentimes what people do is what? They practice one thing and they practice it one time and they think they've got it, right? And so it's just like, oh, let's skip all the other steps and we're just going to go play golf and we're not going to practice anymore because I think I've got it figured out, okay? That happens all the time. And guess what? It happens not only in sports and golf, it happens in retirement planning, right? So what we're going to do today is we're going to reference an article from Kiplinger titled 10 Easily Fixable but Often Overlooked Financial Planning Items. Okay. So we're going to drum roll 10 on down. We got to hurry up though, right? Because we're already 5.5 minutes into this thing, Tony. Are you ready?
I am so ready right now, Brock. It's not even funny.
Oh, I think it is actually.
Let's kick it off.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the first thing is, and this is often overlooked, sometimes we have conversations with it about, where you're at with the FDIC insurance coverage on your bank accounts. Okay, so the FDIC limit currently is $250,000 for individual accounts and $500,000 for joint accounts. So you could probably understand, Tony, why this is often overlooked is because the limits have gone up significantly, and it's quite frankly for a lot of people don't have to worry about it. Okay, and oftentimes, I mean, besides just having that much money in the bank, maybe you've got a specific purpose that you're going to say, hey, within a year, I'm going to buy this, piece of land or whatever it may be. Then that's fine. Then we do need to make this, make sure we've got enough coverage there and you're taken care of. But outside of that scenario, I mean, it's like, okay, why do we have that much money? Let's get some of that invested and getting it to work for you a little bit better. Okay. But, I will say this too, Tony, with money market rates and CD rates going up, significantly over the last couple of years, it has become a bigger, people have more money in the bank than they used to in their brokerage accounts. So
it's true. A lot of people do have more money in the bank, but only up to what 250,000 of it is typically insured. So you got to watch that, don't you?
You do. Like I say, it's a non-issue for a lot of folks, but if it is an issue, you need to just make sure you need to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe you sold your house, maybe you've got something you sold and you're just kind of waiting and seeing what to do with the money, and if you're going to have it in there for 6 months, you want to make sure that, hey, you are protected and have that FDIC insurance coverage.
Right.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for the second one?
Yes.
Beneficiaries. Tony.
Yep.
Tony.
I know what's coming.
You know what's coming. We've talked about it before. Is that, there's so many times and so many stories that you hear when someone in a divorce situation, okay, passes on and dies, and that money then gets left to who? The ex-spouse, right?
Yep.
Why? Because the beneficiary designation on that particular account trumps everything. Okay.
It trumps your will.
Trumps your will. Okay. And it says, hey, this is who this money should go to. So what do we need to do? We got to review our beneficiaries. We got to make sure that the money that you've worked so hard for gets passed on to the people that you want it to truly go to.
Right.
It's easy. Okay.
Right.
It's the most easy and cheapest form of estate planning is to make sure all of your beneficiary designations. And honestly, Tony, to be honest with you, probably the one that gets overlooked the most is not your bank accounts. It's your 401ks. That's where you really hear about this.
Your IRAs and your 401ks, your retirement accounts, because people start those much earlier, right?
Correct.
And so when they started them, they might not have even been married. They might not have put in a beneficiary because they were younger and didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Or they just put something goofy down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will tell you, though, Tony, not having anyone is better than someone that you don't want the money to go to.
Right. That is true. That is true, because if you have a name down there and, I'll never forget that news story about, now it's been a few years now, but the guy in New York, and they even did a news story about it because it went all the way, I think, to the Supreme Court. And that's why I was reading about it. But he got married when he was really young, like 19 or 20.
Sure.
And then it only lasted like a year, but he was like 20, 21. He put that wife on the beneficiary designation. A couple of years later, they get divorced. He gets remarried a couple of years later, has a wife and kids. They've been married 20 plus years. He passed away, never changed the beneficiary designation. So his wife and kids got nothing out of the account that had rolled up all those years, 30 years. That account kept rolling up with the market, averaging, the 10% a year.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot of money. And the will stated the wife and kids got everything. And he mentions the retirement accounts in there. But it didn't matter because the beneficiary designation is a legally binding document.
Absolutely.
And it went all the way to the Supreme Court.
It is bananas, right? And so the process would be is that, for example, if you work with us, we have annual reviews. And the number one thing that we ask on that annual review checklist, we have a checklist for all of our clients, beneficiary designations. Has there been any life changes? Number one. And number two, here are your beneficiaries. And is this who you truly want it to go to? And 90% of the time, the answer is yes. Okay. But you don't want to be part of that 10%, man. Like that's a bad deal.
But you've seen it happen. You've probably had people come to you and you've checked it and it's been wrong, right?
Oh, it's
been somebody.
It's truly gut wrenching, right? When you actually have that.
Sometimes you have a person who's already deceased as your beneficiary because you didn't update it. I mean, if there's a death, a marriage, or a divorce,
life changes. Yep.
These big life changes.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Okay. So number one is, you want to make sure that you have the FDIC coverage. Number two is, on your bank accounts. Number two is making sure that your beneficiaries are up to date.
Yep.
And correct. Okay. Number three. Okay. We're going to move into number three now. And it has to do with 401ks as well, because this is the piece that when people come and see me, when they talk about allocation, we talk about color money risk analysis. We talk about making sure that you don't run out of money, all of these things. But guess what? If you're not actively looking at, and I'm not saying you got to make changes all the time, but if you're not actively looking at your 401k allocation and you don't have a management service, a lot of 401k plans offer a management service that says, hey, for this little bit of fee, we'll manage this for you. Kind of like what we do, right? On a retail side.
Right.
Okay. So if you're doing that, great. You don't have to do anything. But so many times, Tony, I mean, okay, let's put a percentage on this. I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to say the percentage of people that come in to see me, I would say 70% of those people have had a 401k for more than 5 to 10 years, and they have not made a change in that same time frame to their allocation.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the minimal thing that you should do is put this thing on an annual rebalance, folks, because that is the simplest and easiest way to look at this and make sure that at least you stay balanced. Now, what's balanced now is not going to be probably the right balance for you in 5 and 10 years from now. So that's why you still have to make changes, as you get older and as you get closer to retirement. But at least by doing an annual rebalance, that your things won't get out of whack, right? So,
and the way to do that is take your 401k or IRA or 403b, whatever type of retirement account you have, especially those employer-sponsored accounts, whatever type of account, take that statement into a financial professional.
Yes.
Hopefully you're working with one. If not, work with an independent financial professional who's a fiduciary looking out for your best interests. I'm not going to name names, Brock Alspaugh, but I know a guy. Bring them into Brock and you look them over for them and say, hey, here's how you're allocated. You might want to make this change, right?
Tony, I was 22 years old. Yeah, 22 years old. And I started working for a local bank. And the branch manager at the time, love her. Still, she's a client of mine today. And she said,
that's amazing.
She says, you need to put your, whatever, 5-6% of your paycheck into the 401k. And this is before I actually got into business. I was just, a banker at that time. And because I just got, out of college and whatever. And she said, do this. She goes, first of all, you're getting free money. Second of all, you will thank yourself later. And that was she wasn't a financial advisor. She was just a branch manager looking after this young guy, that didn't really know what was going on at the time. And so that's the point, is like, hey, putting it in there is A, number one. So I'm not trying to make people feel bad if you haven't made any changes. Look, put the money in and let
Right.
it grow. All we're saying is, hey, if you can set yourself up, most plans have an auto rebalance feature where you can have it either monthly, quarterly, or annually. I love annually. I think an annual rebalance is great because it lets your winners win and still gets you rebalanced each year to make sure you're, in line. So annual rebalance, automatically done. Click, and then
Yeah.
you don't have to do anything. I mean, you
Right.
don't have to do anything.
Yeah, and
Okay.
a lot of people just say, okay, I'm going to put when they first get into the 401k, they allocate X amount percent, and then they're done. But there's
Right.
more you need to do. You
Right.
do need to make sure it's being rebalanced. And if you have questions about is that where my money should be, bring that statement into a
100%.
financial professional.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
The alternative to this, Tony, is what's been created in the last 5 to 10 years, these target date funds, right? Where
Target
it
date
says
funds. Yeah.
target date funds go, okay, pick your target date of retirement. So maybe 20 years from now. So they would have a 2035, 2045, 2055, whatever the target retirement date is for you, that you put your money into that. And then the fund itself will rebalance. And not only will it rebalance, but it will go more conservative the closer you get to retirement. It's not a bad option, folks.
Yeah.
It's really not. And you get into a Vanguard target date fund, very low cost. The reason is because they're investing in their own funds, which is fine for the most part. But there are ways for you to kind of get this done on an auto basis. That if you just don't want anything to do with it, okay, those are things you should do. Otherwise, an active management service, talking to a professional like myself, again, they can help you allocate those funds. There's it's whatever level you are as far as your interest is. But
Sure.
the point is, do something.
Yeah. You've got to do something. Okay, so
Yep.
what's the next financial step you want to talk about, Brock?
So, okay, this is another one. I mean, I don't know, 70% of people that come see me don't do any form of estate planning, Tony. Okay. So we just talked about what's the cheapest and easiest thing you could do from an estate planning perspective. Make sure all your beneficiaries are up to date on all of your accounts.
Yes.
Like that's number one. Okay. And that's the cheapest and easiest thing to do. But that's not the end of the road when it comes to estate planning, Tony.
Yeah.
Especially if you're married and have kids.
Yeah.
Okay. You need a will. You oftentimes maybe need a trust. Okay. You definitely need powers of attorney. And you need a beneficiary deed. So these are some easy, simple estate
And medical
planning,
directives.
right? That's the power of attorneys, right?
Yep.
Is for not only healthcare decisions, but for financial decisions.
Yep.
So powers of attorneys, will at a minimum, maybe even a trust, depending on your situation. Okay. And then your beneficiary deed for your property, for your homes, right? Because with your cars, you can do that through the title registration. Okay. So if you don't have a beneficiary on your vehicle, you can do that. Just fill out a new title application, put the Benny on there, and you're done. Okay.
Yeah.
It gets registered. That's who it's going to go to. But powers of attorneys, wills, and the beneficiary deeds for your home, those are very basic things that everybody needs. And again, sometimes the will's not enough. You need a trust. So again, talking through that with your spouse, who's going to be the guardian of your kids if both of you pass away?
Right.
Okay. These are not things that everybody wants to talk about. I get it, but it's very important and you need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. So understanding who's going to be your power of attorney to make financial decisions. You don't want somebody that's horrible with money to do that. Right.
No.
What about healthcare? Understanding that they have to carry out your wishes. Do they have the power to do that? And do they have the personality to do that?
Yeah.
So those are two things we got to think about when it comes to people and their, capabilities. And then we got to make sure that, okay, if I die, my car goes to one person. Who's that one person? Or maybe it goes to a trust if you have a trust, and that's a beneficiary of that. Okay. And then, of course, your house. So these are things that take big time conversations with your significant other to make sure that all these things are aligned. Then the second step is to go see an attorney and to execute all of these documents. These are things that, Tony, I'm telling you, 70, 80% of people that come see me don't have this done. Okay. It's very important and you need to have it done. Okay.
Yep.
So there you go. That's the next one.
Well, and you've been talking about a lot here. You've already talked about some of these tips, steps you don't want to miss is making sure the amounts in your bank account doesn't exceed the FDIC limits,
Mhm.
checking your beneficiaries,
Right.
reviewing your 401k allocations, and then making necessary provisions for children or grandchildren. What's next?
I mean, I would say, Tony, I'm sorry, I don't mean to not go next, but I will want to add one more thing to the estate planning.
Okay.
If your beneficiaries are up to date on all of your accounts,
Yeah.
okay, and if you're not married and you think, oh, well, I don't care who gets my stuff, that is not an estate plan. I
No.
hear that a lot. Is I don't have kids, I don't care. I don't really know where who I would want to get all of my assets. Take time, think about it,
Yeah.
okay? Because
And if
you're
you need
not
a name, Anthony Shore, and that's Anthony. I go by Tony, but legally, you're going to want to put Anthony Shore, Shore, just like it sounds.
Is it Anthony Shore
If there
directly
is
or
that person listening, you just described a person, no children, has no desire to leave it to anyone.
and how about is it the Anthony Shore Vacation Fund or is it just
Yeah.
general accounting? Okay.
It's a general fund at this point, but
But I do, Tony. I hear people say that all the time, and it's like,
yeah,
okay, that's fine that you think that way and you feel that way, but you
sure.
know how hard you're making it on other people? Like, just make it easy and get these things done while you're mentally capable of doing it
Yeah.
and making the decisions. Because by the way, I've seen that become a major issue is when someone is getting a little bit older and maybe they've got some early signs or maybe they've got dementia and they're not in a facility yet, they're still living by themselves, whatever it may be, or they're living with their spouse in the home and they're making decisions that I know that that's not what they intended to originally do, but I can't stop them from doing anything. So that's why it's so important that you have these power of attorneys to help, not to make the decisions necessarily, which they can, but my point is to really be an advisor. Okay? That being an advisor at times of, man, I'm not so sure that person's making the right decision. Well, that's why. That's why you need a power of attorney. And people go, I don't need that. Yes, you do. Okay. Yes, you do. So make sure you get those things done, Tony.
Yeah.
All right.
Huge. So, what's the next step?
Yep. The next step here. Let's see here, Tony. You know what? You want to just wrap it up, dude?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? We've covered a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could go on for days. I know you have a lot of information there, but you're right. And I think it's really important. The major step is to have a plan, right? And work with a financial services professional like yourself. So how can our listeners out there, Brock, get a hold of you before we go?
Yeah, go to our website, folks. It's Alspaugh Wealth Management, ALSPAUGH, wealthmanagement.com. Okay. You can, again, check out past shows. You can download, you can order my book. You can do lots of things on the website, but there's one thing you definitely can do is request an appointment with me. Okay. Request an appointment with us to say, hey, this is what's going on in my life. Am I doing everything right? Great. If you are, move on about it and keep doing it. If not, we could recommend some changes. Okay. It's that simple. So look us up, request that appointment, or give us a call at 573-332-7855.
All right. Well, Brock, great show today. Great topic. Important financial steps people need to take. Thanks for having me on the show. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. Viewers, thanks for watching. That does it for today's episode of the Retirement Playbook with Brock Alspaugh.